party is standing outside as the portcullis slams shut and you no longer have a visual on Ash or Spurgeon. What do you guys do? Malachi and his beautiful, whatever she is to him, have started to walk away.
Let's go back to Shepard and report. Yeah, I want to go back to
Can I go looking for somewhere for food and water? Well, beer.
Okay, well, as you enter the Blood Ravens camp, people obviously know you. They let you through with no qualms or issues, and the guards outside of the command tent let you in, no problems. And as you walk into the command tent, they appear to be having some sort of meal. They're not sitting down formally, they're standing around having bread. And as you go in, Commander Shepard greets you and gestures to join in the feast and to eat.
Now, I take some food and start eating, and as I'm eating, I tell Shepard about how Malachi desperately needs an arrow through the face.
He says yes, he's certainly in charge of that place, but every chance we've had to attack him is just something has gone wrong. I can't explain it. We've had archers try to take him. We've had a stealthy contingent go in there and try to murder in his sleep, but they did not come back. Something is off.
Something magical, perhaps.
Says yes, that would not surprise me. Magic is constantly getting in my way, and without the great Bayaz, we are very short on magical talent.
Would the great Bayaz be the bald wizard that we met when we were last here?
He says yes, that is Bayaz. He had to leave on pressing business he could not tell me about, but yes.
How much do you trust him?
Explicitly, with my life.
How... Forgive me for asking, but how competent is he?
He says, I've never seen a stronger magic user. Well, most are frail of body, like yourself. He gestures not so much with disgust, but certainly not in a complimentary fashion.
Contempt.
Yeah. He says, Bayaz has the body of a great warrior. Even without his magical talents, that man was a force to be reckoned with, and I admire him greatly.
Because you seem to be struggling with a magical issue, and we have an entire palace in that city that was full of what we believe to be necromancy magic in liquid form. It was down to Bayaz to close that off. If they have somehow gotten into there, that could explain his extremely sudden jump in power.
He nods and says, yes, perhaps you are right, but I do believe Bayaz is competent enough to seal that place adequately. I don't believe he would have left if that were the case, but I suppose you're right, and I suppose that's probably why Tempest sent you to me.
The other thing is, we have what you may call a consultant with us. Her name was... Excuse me? Her name
Crystal.
Was Crystal.
She's actually in the tent.
In the tent? And I gesture to her and I say, have you been introduced? Forgive us if...
He says yes, and Thaddeus here has been providing some tactical knowledge as well.
I didn't know he's quite
knowledgeable. Thaddeus sort of looks at you. Not hatefully, but certainly not with warmth.
I'm not there. I was just merely chiming.
Oh, okay. Well, then he doesn't. But yeah, he looks at me.
He looks in the direction he believes me to be.
He's got his helmet under his shoulder. His armor, I mean, you wouldn't know this in game, but it looks very Roman. Right? And he himself is quite dark-skinned, and they appear to be standing over a map of the city, which has been relatively crudely drawn. And it's got a bunch of symbols of like different regiments and things. They appear to be trying to come up with taking the city.
Now, you may notice that we have not returned with a full contingent. One of our bards and one of our assassins did manage to infiltrate the city. Though, obviously, we know not what has become of them thus far. When they entered, all we got to see was them up to the point of handing over their weapons. I would suspect that they tried to hide at least some of their weapons, but we can't be certain that they weren't strip searched or anything like that, so we'd have to...
I had sent in some of my most skilled men, I guess similar to the way you just have, and they did not return.
Well,
they were, but a day later, presented on the wall with their hands bound behind their backs, and had their throats cut by Malachi himself.
Had they entered under the guise of new converts?
He says yes. They
Right.
seem to be openly taking in new converts, but these men were trained in deception, and they managed to see through their guise. I believe, as you say, it is perhaps a magical means.
Have we got anyone from in the town who has escaped?
He says only the bodies, only the corpses. They do not let anyone leave willingly, it seems.
Right.
Perhaps those who want to leave are the ones sent over the wall.
I can probably assume that you have scouted around. Is there any weaknesses in the wall? This was not a particularly, as you may remember when we were last here, it was not in the best of conditions. What kind of defenses have they set up?
Yeah, he nods and he says, yes, we don't believe that it is storming of the castle itself that provides much of an issue. As Thaddeus here has pointed out, there is a weakness, and he gestures to the northeastern side of the wall. He says, there appears to be a weakness in the wall here we think we could probably take rather easily, but that place is not full of soldiers, it is full of townspeople, commoners, and it would be an absolute slaughter. What is the point of taking this city if there are no people left? We want to avoid that at all costs. We're not murderers.
No, but if these people, as you said, there has been some magic. If these people are fanatics and have been magically converted, then no matter what we do, they will fight to the death.
He gestures and he says, well, Thaddeus here has seen a similar situation to this one in, what land was it? And Thaddeus just shakes his head. And he says, well, in some land. And well, in Thaddeus's experience, he thinks that most of these people probably aren't willing parts of this insurrection, but are merely too afraid to speak out, otherwise they'll end up like those people over the wall. Simply putting them to our swords is something I will not have. We are an army of justice, of peace.
Very well.
Thaddeus steps forward and he says, if you cut the head off the snake, the body dies.
Commander Shepard, when you attack, who does Malachi come to the gate at all?
He says, yes, we've had some small parties try and skirmish up onto the wall, and each time we've been met by Malachi and
So
a few of his soldiers.
Him personally comes to the gate?
He looks across to one of his advisors who nods and he says, well, not exactly. He appears to have something backing him. Something appears to be coming to his aid that we do not fully understand. It is a creature that we've never seen, that we believe is not of this earth.
I was just wondering if you guys provide a diversion, we could get in under the cover of darkness through this weak point Thaddeus has pointed out in the northeast wall, and we could come in behind if we know where he's going to be when he attacks. Like if he comes to the gate every time you attack, we know he can be there, so we can come up behind him and we can kind of corner him and be able to attack from both sides.
He says, yes, perhaps that could work. We could certainly try to get you into the city, but I'm not going to send my men into a helpless slaughter purely for your own devices. I believe you're sent here by Tempest because you're competent.
But as Thaddeus said, cut off the head. That's what we're trying to do, is help you with the head.
We are not asking you to slaughter civilians. We are merely asking you to create a diversion. If you send their standing army, and remember, though they may not be willing participants, they are certainly not trained soldiers. If you were to create a diversion on the southern gate, there would be, I would suspect, at least a lessened guard presence in the northeast, where a small team such as ourselves could slip into the gate and hopefully remain unnoticed trying to find Malachi.
Yeah, roll me persuasion. Yeah, he nods and looks over to one of his advisors as well. He nods and he says, yes, I believe we can provide you the distraction you need. We will feign an attack here, and he gestures on the, I guess, the far south side of the city. He says, and this should provide enough of a distraction for you to enter through the north, where Thaddeus had indicated. And
Yep.
Thaddeus nods and he says, I will go with them to make sure they do not get lost.
We are
he
very
nods.
glad
Thank
to
you,
have your
Thaddeus.
help, that is.
He says, yes, you are very lucky.
Do we have any indication of where Malachi is?
Says every scout we have sent in has not come back. Usually Bayaz would be our primary scout, using magical means, which I don't fully understand, but as I said, he had to leave suddenly on some most urgent business.
Now, you also said that a creature comes. What? Can you describe the creature?
Says we've tried a few times and it has been different every time. If I were to guess, they were creatures from the heavens themselves. And then he goes on to keep speaking, and then he said, well, that was the first few times we attacked it. Then most concerningly, second few times, the complete opposite type of creature seemed to come to their aid. Winged beasts with red skin and flaming weapons would leave my men in twain. I've lost half of my contingent already, some of my best men.
Could we, from his description, could we try and roll a history or an insight to try and work out, or an arcana or even to try and work out what magic is summoning them?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Roll me arcana would be fine. Is there religion?
Can I roll as well?
Or history?
Like
yeah,
something
whichever.
else?
Yeah, absolutely. Or you can assist. Okay. So this sounds like. So you'd heard something similar of a spell like this, but not from your school of magic. You believe this is a clerical spell, and what it is designed to do is beseech your god for help, basically, and ask him to lend you an ally. And this ally is usually of the alignment with your god, but something that confuses you is saying that he was getting both help from what looked to be good deities and also from evil deities. That confuses you greatly. You've never heard of that occurring.
I convey this to Shepard and I say, look, do you know much about the clerical school of magic?
He shakes his head and says, no more than I was taught in my regimental school.
Because normally this sounds very much like a clerical spell, but normally you get help from one god, and that god is either evil, or it is either celestial, or it is either demonic. What you've described is both. If you understand. That,
as I believe I do.
That suggests, I don't know. We have certainly, our group has heard a story of a fallen angel that is seeking to become demonic. If that is the deity that is answering the calls of this, it is certainly most concerning. Because that is about...
He says, yes. The creature that would answer his calls the first few days appeared to be of immense power, and perhaps of what you were describing. However, he was never able to be there for more than a few minutes. And we have not seen him for close to a week, although creatures which now answer his call, as I described, appear to be more demonic in nature, and that appears to be a different being each time. They never stay for more than a few minutes, but that's all they need. They've decimated my men.
My thoughts are, Commander, that this is not... You are not seeing the deity that they are actually seeking help from, but rather its thralls that it is sending to aid. And I am suggesting that perhaps it has both celestial and demonic thralls at its disposal, which could potentially explain why you are seeing both celestial and demonic enemies, but it is pure speculation at this point.
He says, but... Actually, no, his advisor steps forward. It's a man who is obviously not a fighter. He's a backpack full of scrolls, which he seems to keep on at all times. He's fairly old and he's thin and wispy. He says, but, I mean, I am no theist, but that does not make sense. The good does not fraternize with the evil. The evil does not embrace the good. That makes no sense.
There must always be balance, and if an angel falls, then a demon must rise.
He looks perplexed.
I am afraid to explain more, good sir, would require much more time than the current matter permits.
He says, yes, I suppose all we really need to do is Let's figure out how to stop them, and I believe that would be by killing Malachi himself. And perhaps that witch he keeps with him.
Yes, I was about to ask, that lady that he has with him, do you have you had any dealings with her at all?
He says, yes, she appears to have a much more direct means of fighting, and is something I'm much more familiar with after spending some time with Bea. She has thrown fire, she has thrown lightning from her hand, appears to be a being of great magical capabilities, and another reason why I don't think it's wise for us to spend much time forming a distraction, even though my Lord Shepherd appears to think it is wise.
You do not believe her to be the leader, then, is what you are saying?
No, they appear to be taking their directions from Malachi himself, but again, he might be a puppet. For all we know, he might just be a being she herself has summoned. We do not know.
It seems we must enter under the cover of darkness tonight. I suppose we will find out when we enter tonight under your distraction, then, as to what the true situation is.
He says, yes, I suppose we should come up with a plan. Thaddeus, what time do you think would be best for us to take your party into the city? And Thaddeus says, as late as possible, potentially just before the dawn. These people are townsfolk, not soldiers. I doubt they will stay up all night.
Thaddeus, do we need to gain any extra materials to get over this wall tonight? Well, in the dawn?
He says, yes, I will require some grappling equipment.
Oh, I have a grappling hook and rope. Is that sufficient, or do we need multiple so we can get over the wall quicker?
He said, would prefer us to have at least 3 or 4 so we can get up and over in an efficient manner. That's something you can help us with, Shepherd. He nods. He says, we'll provision you with whatever you need.
Thank you, Commander.
He nods.
Alright. Well,
If that will be all I have.
we will